Good afternoon, everyone here in person as well as watching online. I'm Paul Rajchgod with Ayre Ventures, and I'm pleased to be speaking to you today about investing in the BSV ecosystem, and here we go. Okay, great. Before I get too far into things, a little bit of background on who we are. Ayre Ventures is part of Ayre Group, which is led by entrepreneur and philanthropist and the unmistakable Calvin Ayre, gentleman over there, with a passion for BSV, the only infinitely scaling enterprise public blockchain, as well as other emerging tech, real estate, and publishing. It's a bit nerve-wracking using the word infinite in front of Dr. Wright, and I saw that he left the room, which is a big relief for me, because if any of you know, he does not like when we use that word, but I figured he'd allow it. Ayre Ventures is highly focused on how BSV is reshaping the world, and we're helping to create this new reality. We invest in leading businesses such as these in varied industries that are utilizing the BSV blockchain to their advantage. Software companies in arenas like BSV infrastructure, supply chain, content, as well as gaming companies, fintech, ad tech, social media, and on and on. Now, we recently closed on 2 investments into new names for us that coincidentally have similar sounding names, Buzzcast, which you see on the screen here, and Blaircast, which you don't. That investment just closed last week, and we weren't sure if it was going to close in time for the conference, so their logo didn't make it up here, but luckily both companies are presenting at the conference, so we'll learn more about them. Now, before I get into why we invest in the BSV ecosystem and what we look for in investment opportunities, I thought it might be kind of fun to do something unconventional. It's been a long day. I know it's been an exciting day, but investing for some people and the investment process isn't probably riveting to all of you. So I thought, let's do something fun and a little bit unconventional and talk about what we don't invest in and why not. Now, you'll notice right away the slides are going to take a nasty turn for the ugly. The tones are different. It's an ugly topic. An ugly topic, I think, deserves ugly slides, but we'll get through it quickly. Look at this enviable growth rate, growing from some tiny number in 2013 to over 12,000 today. 111% compounded annual growth. I did the math myself. I used to be a banker. It's accurate. That's astounding growth, but we're not interested in this. Look at this strong month-over-month growth continuing after that incredible growth rate you already saw, still growing 5 to 10% month on month. Any entrepreneur in this room would probably say, that's incredible growth. We're not interested, okay? What's so wrong with this? What's so wrong with this is everything, because this is a chart of the total number of cryptocurrencies. Crypto, which is a term that I'll use today. I don't like to use it, but I'll use it for this discussion, which has grown from 66 in 2013 to over 12,000 today. I left it sort of 12XXX with a bracket around it because it goes up every day by a dozen or two. I think it was 12,300 this morning, 12,100 something a few days ago. That's incredibly strong growth in the number of hobby coins, side chains, and meme coins out there. You guys have all probably heard of Doge. Did you know there's a whole Doge family now? I just discovered this. One Doge wasn't enough. There's a mama Doge, daddy Doge, there's baby Doge. I think there's like step cousin Doges. Clearly that's very clever and productive. Most cryptos are unnecessary, they don't work, or worse, they're outright scams, and in many cases, all of the above. I was curious about this next point, thank you. I was curious about this next point since we're here in New York, America's financial capital, arguably the world's financial capital. The top 4 stock exchanges in North America are the NASDAQ, the New York Stock Exchange, and up in Canada, the Toronto Stock Exchange and the Toronto Venture Exchange. Those 4 exchanges have 8,850 public companies, far less than the number of cryptocurrencies that grows, like I say, by a dozen or two every day. And by the way, all 8,850 of those companies had to file something called prospectuses. Just ask Ta'al, they'll tell you about it. They had to file prospectuses, they had to get regulatory approval, they had to get stock exchange approval. Not so with the 6,000 or so ICOs in this 12,000 whatever number that goes up every day. Speaking of ICOs, I don't know if you knew this, but there were ICOs, then there were IDOs. They worked their way up to IEOs. You see a pattern here? Well, that too, but they're also working their way through the alphabet and through investors' wallets, or so they're trying. In fact, now there are IGOs, but I don't think there are IFOs. I have an idea for F. The financiers behind this crypto machine, this factory that churns out one after another, would have you believe there needs to be a crypto for everyone and everything. Otherwise, how can you possibly launch a business focused on blockchain? My favorite to pick on, although now that I look at it, I really admire their honesty here, is this crypto for the dental industry. This image comes from their white paper calling for a new dental ecosystem. That's great. Look at the pillars of their ecosystem. Dentists, patients, and traders. Traders of their cryptocurrency are a pillar of their ecosystem. How does that work? Folks, traders should be a pillar of your ecosystem if you make trading software. Like, what's funny to me is publicly traded companies who, of course, care about their stock price, they don't even talk this way unless they make trading software. Can you imagine Netflix giving a quarterly update saying how their strong growth was driven by trading in Netflix stock? It's ridiculous, right? Speaking of ridiculous, let's talk about food-themed DeFi for a minute. And we can make this into audience participation. As I've said, it's been a long day. Feel free to shout out some of the ones that come off the top of your head. Food-themed DeFi. Anyone? Sushi. What else? Pancakes. Burgers, hot dogs, pizza. I don't think they did fries. And they're up to dessert now. There's gelato and whatever else. It's like an all-you-can-eat Vegas buffet, but of hacks, failures, and pending regulatory problems. By the way, there are many DeFi-like offerings, such as TokenSwap that you just heard about from our investee company, Script, Xiaowei Liu. There are many DeFi-like offerings on BSV. Somehow they managed to launch their businesses without ICOs and yet another cryptocurrency. Who'd have thunk it? Bottom line, does every project, every app, every newfangled fintech or loan idea, because that's really what they are, or a swap or whatever, does it really need its own cryptocurrency? No. Do any? Still no. All you need is BSV. One world, one chain. Now, there are many good companies lost in all this crypto noise. We suggest the stronger among them follow their peers that have already moved over to BSV to take advantage of its unmatched capabilities before they're outcompeted and it's too late. You've already heard from some of those companies that have moved over from the Ethereums and whatnot, like Fix Gaming and Company with a K. That's the easiest way to say their name. So I think we'll be hearing from more. So why the focus on BSV? It's as transformative as the internet itself. It's the world's only infinitely scaling enterprise public blockchain and the ideal platform for micro and nano payments with ultra-low transactions costs. It follows Satoshi's vision for Bitcoin in the white paper with what I call today's upgrades and a protocol now set in stone. Now, you're going to be hearing a lot more about this next point throughout the conference, so I'm going to leave it to the experts, but the only thing I want to say in summary is BSV is very eco-friendly, arguably the most eco-friendly blockchain. That greater scale we keep talking about and that you've seen demonstrations of today leads to greater efficiency. More transactions and bigger blocks simply means more energy efficiency per block and per transaction. And this, too, is continuously improving. So who's on BSV? Well, you've seen many examples of them today. Mobile apps, governments, SaaS and BaaS, that's Bitcoin as a service platforms, IoT solutions, social platforms and marketplaces, gaming and esports galore, NFTs, some stable coins, apparently a dozen or so metaverses. I didn't know that. I knew of one. And on and on and on. BSV is also the only tech that can serve as an enterprise-level data management and value system. Well, what does that mean? BSV's micro and nano payment capabilities enable new and easy ways to pay for data usage, providing tremendous utility for data, digital activities, and services. BSV will become such a valuable tool for massive industries that we believe companies will literally need BSV just to stay competitive. Don't take it from me, take it from Peter Bainbridge-Clayton, who you've already heard from twice today. He didn't mention this, but I think he knew I was going to use this because I told him I would. Peter said this about BSV a few months ago. BSV adds capabilities to our platform which simply cannot be done in any reasonable other fashion with any other category of technology. He didn't say with any other blockchain or blockchain technology. He said any other category of technology. That's how powerful BSV is. BSV sets the utility bar very high. You've heard some of these stats today, but in the context that I put it in, utility, if you agree with me, you may not, is what blockchain is supposed to be all about. First, you have to deliver utility to the consumers that are using the consumer apps, the NFT platforms, the gamification stuff, the enterprises, the governments that are using BSV. You deliver utility, and from utility, you get value. That's the way it's supposed to work. Continuous world record block size that you already heard about today, only on BSV, such that 2 gigabyte blocks are becoming boring. They're so common. The average block size last week was 230 megabytes, up from 5 megabytes at the last CoinGeek conference just a few months ago. With many blocks now featuring upwards of 25,000 transactions, while fees remain ultra low. There's your proof. If this is not the definition of utility, I don't know what is. So the scaling up that we talk about, it's already well underway. It's not theoretical. Over the last several weeks, BSV has surpassed Ethereum in overall volume, and that volume is now coming from an increasingly varied number of platforms and apps. A watchful eye may have noticed there's a new name that's popped up into the sort of number 5, number 4, number 3 slot. I'm not going to say who they are. They're presenting at the conference, but they're enterprise-focused. And yet, we've only just begun. I'm just going to touch on Terranode for a second here. We had an update on it from Steve Shatters earlier. Terranode is going to usher in an era of 50,000 transactions per second throughput, scaling to 100,000 and much higher thereafter. And yet our friend Vitalik Buterin at Ethereum says BSV does not scale. Now, the only thing I want to say about that is I think it's really funny. I'm not very good at creating memes myself. Some of you in the audience here and online, you probably are. But I thought this should have been turned into a meme for anything that's an utter lie. Because I think it's hilarious. So if real Vitalik Buterin can say bold-faced that BSV doesn't scale when that's all it does, maybe fake Vitalik Buterin could tell us Coca-Cola is not delicious, New York City is not an interesting city, Gal Gadot is not stunning. Judging by your reaction, you agree with him that the guy on stage is not funny. It's okay, I can handle it. Anyway, submit your own. You guys are good at this stuff. All this growth happening on BSV has not gone unnoticed by institutional money. There are many more VCs and family offices now investing in BSV-focused deals. There were many more at the last CoinGeek, and at the prior CoinGeek, I was on stage saying that there were many more then as well, and it was always true. You may have seen some recent press releases, such as Transmira's, who you saw earlier, you heard from Robert Rice. They are doing a financing right now that was led by an outside VC, not even led by any of us in the BSV ecosystem. That's co-opetition. Co-opetition is good. Co-opetition is healthy. That's like the capital markets in action. More investors champing at the bit to invest in BSV deals and in some cases lead them and trying to push guys like us out of the way. That's a very healthy thing. It also leads to the occasional business that they own in their portfolio from prior to their discovery of BSV being introduced to us. Companies like, again, Fix Gaming or Company with a K or others that are now coming to the BSV ecosystem that you're hearing about. Now, some of these guys may keep a low profile. They're not all active tweeters. But they're out there, and the roster of investors is definitely growing because they know BSV is the only blockchain that truly scales. So in terms of our kind of summary, our overarching views, the explosive utility growth of BSV is already well underway. It's not theoretical. Enterprises, governments, consumer apps, tokenization galore. BSV's earn and use economy is in action every day. And when you add to that the low transaction fees you see on BSV, what are we witnessing? Transactions, transactions, transactions. Any of you out here remember Steve Ballmer? That's as far as I'm going to go. I'm not going to jump up and down on stage. Thank you. Third point, sustaining profitability for transaction processors like Taal is key. It's critical to the BSV ecosystem, and it partly informs our investment decision making. Finally, new ideas and business models, only possible on BSV. Now, in terms of our investment themes, we're looking for BSV infrastructure opportunities, the software and systems that BSV runs on. We're very focused on things like data integrity, transparency, empowerment, and monetization. We'd love to see more modernizing of massive industries like computing and gaming and so on, utilizing technology that allows legacy companies to easily integrate with BSV apps. And finally, we're looking for more ventures that advance the metanet. However, like any good venture capitalist, we're very selective, and we favor companies with a complete package. And this goes for whether we're talking about more senior growth stage companies or whether we're talking about startups and new entrepreneurs. We prefer business models that scale with recurring revenue, high margins, and low fixed costs. It's nice to have management that have successful track records from prior companies they built and exited. That's always a big plus. We'd love to see that this new opportunity, whatever it is already in growth stage. And if we're talking about a startup, a new entrepreneur, we'd like to see that ideally the building is already underway. Maybe it's in alpha or beta, some customers are using it and so on. But to be clear, both growth stage and earlier stage opportunities, including new entrepreneurs, are welcome. So please reach out to us. Let's be positively disruptive together. Come visit us online or at our booth here in New York, as well as virtually at the conference. Thank you very much.